First of all, you don't know me.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens.
With it forever.
We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl, cheering for the right team. Drama queens, smart girl, rough girl, fashion but you're tough girl. You can sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens. Drama queens, drama queens.
That feels good.
I really love it.
Oh, it's so fun, isn't it?
We're back, baby!
We did it. Oh, we survived all these years.
We are reunited and it feels good, everyone.
It really does.
You guys are more beautiful than you've ever been. And I'm so
Wow.
excited we're back in the same room together. This is amazing.
It feels like a homecoming.
It really, really does. Like, as long as we played high schoolers, we might as well have our own, like, letter jackets and high school reunion. And we deserve
Oh my
this.
God, we deserve pink
Damn
lady
right.
jackets.
Yes!
But ours would be blue, right?
And they say
Yeah, go
drama queen.
Ravens.
I know.
Go Ravens.
How many times over the years have people come up to you two and said, like, when is there going to be a reunion?
So much.
So many. I've lost count, honestly.
It's probably the number one question.
And it's fans
Yeah.
of the show. It's even like the sweetest reporters we've ever spoken to.
Yeah.
People you wouldn't expect to be saying, please give us a reunion, do that a lot.
I really like it when, like, people who are from countries we had no idea the show aired in come up and they're like,
Yes.
we learned English watching your show.
Yeah.
I know.
That's nuts.
It's been a comfort food for so many people. And it's because of those fans, because of all you guys listening, that we're even able to do this right now. We're so grateful and super, super excited to be back together.
It's true, though, you know, for us, and we've all talked about this in private, you know, there were years where when we finished the thing we did for a decade, we were like, no, we're done with that. And I think that the passion that the fans have carried out has actually allowed us to fall back in love with the show. You guys have given us nostalgia. You have enabled us to maintain our friendships. And honestly, our friendships are deeper and more ferocious and delicious than they've ever been. Because like we do get to travel to all these cool places together and meet, you know, the people who love our show. And you've reminded us that we love our show. And so now we're bringing you a new show.
Did you guys ever imagine when we were like locked down in Wilmington, North Carolina in the early 2000s that there would be a global fan base?
Never.
Never.
I mean, you always hope that, but you never actually, I mean, you can't just sit around dreaming that there's going to be some global like rush that we're going to become a major piece of pop culture. And
Yeah.
then suddenly it happens. And I mean, but you know, you're so, what was 2003? Was it when we started?
I didn't even know how the internet worked back then. You
Was
know?
there internet back then? I feel like it was still dial up.
I know. Were we using like AIM?
Yeah.
What
We
even
all
is
had
that?
home phones back then.
Oh.
I'm going to call Joy on her landline.
That's right. Landlines, when it was rude to call people on their cell phones because you don't want to bother someone when they're out. I'll just call you when you're home. Now it's
Yeah.
like the other way around. What do you guys remember the most about Wilmington? Like, let's talk about when we first, I mean, do you guys remember when you first showed up, like landed in that tiny little airport?
Yes. Well, and always a connecting flight because there's
Yes.
no direct flight into Wilmington.
Yes.
So you'd fly to Charlotte and then you'd go get on the little plane. And I remember landing in Wilmington and getting off the plane. And I was like, oh, there are 6 gates in the whole airport.
There's rocking chairs out front.
I was like, can I sit in one of those? I love it here.
Had you guys ever been there before?
No.
See, I was like a Virginia kid. So we would vacation down there growing up. And there was a place, it was like Bubba's Car Lot, you know, and it was all antique picture cars that had been used in movies that had shot there, starting with like
Really?
Firestarter, you know? So it had been a film town since the 80s.
Because Frank Capra built Screen Gems there.
yeah.
Like 70s or 80s, right?
Blue Velvet shot there. So it, like David Lynch came in and did super creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Empire Records shot there, which
Empire
wasn't
Records.
a David Lynch movie, but oh my God!
It's Prince Manning
The best.
I mean, there were so many cool things that had shot there before we got there. And so for me, it was like, oh, I get to go live in a vacation town where Bubba's Car Lot is, you know, like
Yeah.
cool. And Dawson's had just like reigned supreme in Wilmington. Were you guys allowed to watch Dawson's? Because I wasn't.
You weren't?
No, it was a bad kid show.
What? I wasn't allowed to watch like Beverly Hills 90210, but or Melrose Place, God forbid.
I still to this day, I'm like, what happened on that?
But Dawson's I could watch.
I watched 90210 to a point, and then there was an episode where Luke Perry and Jenny Garth had like an affair behind Shannon Doherty's back or something.
I remember seeing commercials about that.
I didn't even see the episode. I was actually like away at, this is so embarrassing, I was away at Space Camp in Idlewild. It's fine. But my parents watched the episode, and when I got home, they were like, we can't believe we've been letting you watch this show with your babysitter. She's a bad influence.
Yeah.
And I got a new babysitter, and I was banned from watching 90210 forever. So I think because that show was so bad is maybe why I was allowed to watch Dawson's. Because it was like small town kids figuring it out.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember having girlfriends over to watch like the pilot of Dawson's, and when Pacey had sex with the teacher, my mother came in and was like,
about
"Get
that.
out of here!"
I forgot about that too.
That was like the first storyline.
I came in on Dawson's late, though. I didn't start watching until season like 3 or 4 when they had sort of mellowed out. It wasn't so much of the trying to shock everybody because Kevin Williamson was definitely in a shock zone at that point when he started all that stuff.
I think maybe I must have done the same. I must have started watching it later. And then I remember being in college and ahead of a season premiere, going back and watching from the beginning with friends. And I think that might have been the first time I saw that.
Yeah, dude. It lit my world on fire. And all of a sudden, then everyone at school knew I wasn't allowed to watch it. They're like, she's a nerd. Yeah, but we were all actors at that point. Joy, you started really young. How old were you when you started working?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I mean, I started professionally when I was 12. So, but I was doing a lot of theater. I mean, we were all drama queens in our own right of our high schools and schools. You know, we all did drama club and school plays and all that kind of stuff. So that was, and you for sure were, Hilarie. I know you did a ton of musical theater.
I was initiated into the high school theater program when I was in 3rd grade. I was 8 with a letter jacket. Because I played Gretel Von Trapp in The Sound of Music. And then I followed up in 5th grade with Amaryllis in The Sound of Music. And so I thought I was so cool and adult because I was
Who's Amaryllis in The Sound of Music?
she's like the little girl that plays the piano while Marion's singing Goodnight My Someone. And she's like,
the Music Man.
What did I say?
Sound of Music. Yes.
I was Gretel in Sound of Music, Amaryllis in The Music Man. A lot of music happening in our house.
I'm today years old always. I learned something about musicals from the two of you. Every time we're together, I'm like, I don't know.
Nerd Club.
I love it. I didn't start doing theater until I had an arts requirement in the 8th grade. I tried to get out of it, and I tried to schedule my semester of theater for the same semester I was playing volleyball, and my school was like, you're an idiot. You can't do that. So I had to miss volleyball for the year, which in hindsight is a blessing because I never grew, so I'm not tall enough to be a volleyball player.
I can see you being an aggressive volleyball player, Sophia. You're
little and
competitive.
scrappy.
Yeah.
You're competitive for sure.
But
you could do that.
I'm like, I can get in there. I can help. But I
can help.
Suddenly I was like, just the short kid being like, give me the low ones. But suddenly I was like, wait a minute. I've been on this like med school track, I thought.
Space
like
camp.
good immigrant
man.
daughter. Like you will be a doctor or a lawyer or a lawyer or a doctor. And then I was like, wait, but plays or books come to life. But I missed the whole musical theater
There's
thing.
still time, babe.
Oh,
There's still time.
I learned from
Our
the both of you.
100th episode will be a musical podcast.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Just sing the whole thing.
You will write us a musical and it will be fabulous.
Oh, okay.
I know.
twist
You
my
went from
arm.
cradling your head in your hands to being like, all right, I'm ready. I'll start now.
What show was on the air when we were teenagers that you were like, oh, that's what I want to do? Like,
Felicity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Felicity. I got to be in a couple episodes of Felicity. You
did?
Yeah, I did.
rewind.
Rewind. Yeah. I was, her teacher was like, seemed like he was hitting on her. And there was some episode where his teacher seemed like he was hitting on her. And then it turned out that he was actually like having an affair with me.
What?
And you were also a student?
And I was also a student, but I also looked just like her. Like my hair was really big and curly.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that there was a tie in there where it was like it was super weird. I don't know. But I can say everybody was really nice on that show. And Carrie, I've always admired her as an actress too, but she was just so sweet and professional and like really warm and you know, I mean, people, and we know certainly being on a show where people came in and out all the time, it's really hard to keep track of all the guest stars and all the storylines and everything. And, but Carrie was like, I always felt comfortable around her, and she felt really warm and welcoming. Come on in. And the hair and makeup trailer, there was never like snobbiness or anything. So, you know, whatever. I had a great memory from being on that show. But what else was on the WB at the time?
The WB was huge at the time.
Yeah, huge.
It owned our total age bracket.
Yeah.
Because what Charmed was a big deal.
Yep. It was Charmed, Felicity, Dawson's,
Buffy.
Veronica Mars.
Buffy.
We grew up on Buffy.
Yeah.
Wasn't we? Veronica Mars was UPN until it moved
you're
over,
right.
until we merged.
That happened in our merger.
Yeah.
Well, see, yep.
That was
People.
that was nuts because they were our competitor, and we had this like rivalry. Don't you remember the end of Veronica Mars in their credits? They had like an icon of a tree burning, and we took it so personally.
I don't remember that at all.
And then we all merged and we were on the same network, and it was like, oh hey guys. It felt like West Side Story. It was
my
just
God.
like, cool, I guess we're friends now. Yeah, the WB, like I'd interviewed a bunch of people from other shows on the WB when I was working at MTV, but I was always on the other side of it. Like I definitely wasn't the talent. I was just the interviewer. And so it was all this Smallville kids.
Oh,
you
Smallville
know?
too. Oh my God.
And then
all
what
the
was the
shows.
one with Gregory Smith? Everwood?
Everwood. Wow.
That was a big one.
Forgot about that too.
Was Joan of
Gilmore
Arcadia?
Girls.
Gilmore Girls?
Oh my God. They
They
were
blew it up.
printing hits.
Yeah, they
Oh,
were.
yeah.
They were.
And so if you were cast on a WB show, it was like,
Which
here
is
I
so
come.
funny that every year we always felt like we're on the bubble. They may not pick you up. You know, no, we're not really sure if anybody's
I don't
into
think people
it.
at home know that. So explain to them what the bubble is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the bubble is like you could burst at any moment. You could be canceled at any moment. So better, you know, stay in line. Better make sure that we, you know, just keep our numbers up and
Mind your P's and
Yeah,
Q's.
do whatever we have to do to sell the show and make sure that we stay on the air.
Yeah.
But it's ironic because, you know, clearly at that time, the WB wasn't picking up shows that were not going to be big hits, let alone keeping them on the air for longer than 2 seasons. I think is a fair
Yeah.
space of time to say. Like by then they know, and yet even into season 5, 6, 7, 8, well, we might get canceled. I don't know.
Every season I was there, it was like, you're lucky to have a job, miss.
Yeah.
You know?
And isn't it funny
which
that now as
we were,
adults, like all of us producing and directing, we're like, oh, that's a scare tactic to keep your employees terrified so they never ask for anything. Got it. Thanks, guys. But as kids, we were like, oh my God, we might lose our jobs.
Yeah.
This might be the year we all find out we're failures.
You know what has happened? We've reached that point in adulthood where we're like, fine, I lose my job. It's fine. You know, like the apathy has set in. But, you know, that was the biggest break ever.
Yeah.
And trying to prove ourselves
Yeah.
was funny and also like a good way to have those connections that make lifelong friends. It's like, oh, remember when we all went through that together?
Yeah.
It's like having matching tattoos on the inside.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I almost got a tattoo at your wedding, so.
I did too, almost.
Yeah. The line was just really long.
I was like,
I'll
getting it
come
later
back.
though. I still got the B.
Yeah,
I
you
just got it
did.
later.
I love it.
Listen, we had like 93 people get tattooed at my wedding. We'll do that on a different episode of the show. We'll just like bring in Mike Lucina.
Oh my God, yes.
Mike tattoo
Sounds fun.
us.
Why not?
So what were you guys doing like right before you were cast on the show? What was like the 6 months leading up to finding out you were on the show?
I had just moved from New York. I had been on a soap opera for a couple of years, and then I just lived in New York City doing nothing for 1 year. I spent all my money that I made on the soap, which, you know what, I was 19 or 20 and like, well, I'm making a stupid amount of money, which is just so unusual. And it was kind of great to just blow all of it on like amazing restaurants. And I saw a Broadway show every other night. And
I remember you telling me, you're like, do you like champagne? And I was like, I don't know. You were like, I'm good at champagne.
I mean, I was like, I moved out when I was 17. I had my own apartment, you know, and
That's
so,
nuts.
you know, I'd been kind of living on my own, taking care of myself for a long time. So when I got to LA, I went to LA because I was in New York. I spent all my money. I went to the ATM one day and I had like $2,000 left. And, I was like, oh, well, I guess I got to go to LA and try and get some guest spots. So I just packed up my bags and moved to LA.
Did you know where to go?
No, I mean, I had been in LA so much because I had flown. Yeah, pilot season since I was 12, 14 years old. I was always flying out there for testing and pilots and stuff. So anyway, once I got here, it was stupidly charmed. Like it just kept working. I just got here and I got on guest spots and on all these great different shows and started, got an apartment. And I got the pilot for Ravens was sent to me. And I flipped through it and I just was like, I don't know if I want to do a teen drama. And there were a lot of other auditions at the time. So I just kind of passed by it. And then 6 or 7 months later, my manager called me and she said, watch this pilot. This is the show I wanted you to audition for a few months ago. But anyway, they're recasting one of the parts. And if you like it, take a look. So I took the pilot, the videotape.
It was a chunky tape. I still have
tape.
that chunky tape, man.
I took it over to a friend's house and we sat down and watched it. And I loved the pilot. I mean, I
Did
really, really did. Yeah, I loved it. And I thought, man, I would love to be a part of this show. I love the way they're weaving in music and the tone of the characters feels so raw and connected. And like, this feels like something I could really sink my teeth into. So I went in and did my audition. We should all talk about our audition experiences at some point too.
Oh my gosh.
But so
yes.
what were you doing before?
Oh man. I mean, I was a junior in college. I had done this movie. I had auditioned for the female lead in Van Wilder.
Ooh.
Opposite Ryan Reynolds. And they were like, you look 12. This isn't going to work.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
I thought you looked really pretty.
Well, they kept bringing me back in, and I eventually tested for the movie, and they were like, "We just think you look too young to work opposite."
Was that the Tara
this
Reid part?
Grown man, yeah. And they were like, "But there's one scene where there's this freshman in college girl, and we'd like to offer it to you." And I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And I remember getting to work, and they were like, "Okay, so you're gonna take that mark," and I was like, "What is a mark?"
Yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds was the sweetest person. And he was like, "Come over here." And he gave me like a
seems
4-minute
charming.
lesson and was just like, "This is a mark and what it means when they say toe up and da-da-da-da and look for this and make sure no one's ever in your light." And I was like, "Okay." And then 5 minutes later, they were like, "So you're going to we're going to smash cut to her walking in the room and you're in his lap and you guys are making out." And I was like, "Wow, this is tremendously awkward." Thank God he's such a nice person. And he's like remained the nicest human. But I did that. And then I did this 3-episode guest arc on Nip Tuck, the first season.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was so fun and so like salacious and out of control. And then I was like, it was summer and I was working my retail job. I was working at the Century City Mall.
Where, what shop?
I was working at Bloomingdale's. I did. And
You were like Rachel Green.
literally, I was following in Jennifer Aniston's television footsteps. And the anxiety that I had every day, because like all the other kids who worked there were bad and they would just take like extended smoke breaks. And I was having a panic attack every day because I was trying to recolor coordinate and arrange everything on the shelves by size and nobody else cared. And I was like, I can't take it anymore. And then this came up and it was actually really interesting because similarly to you, I had read the Ravens script. And by the way, for anyone listening who doesn't know, One Tree Hill was originally titled Ravens, the name of the basketball team. And I had read the script and I had wound up doing a different pilot for the same production company, Tolan Robbins. Yeah. And it was very in the line of amazing WB shows, sort of like a Seventh Heaven, like really warm family story.
Oh, that's another one.
Seventh Heaven. They printed hits,
Yeah.
I tell you. But it was a pilot for ABC, and ABC was like, we don't really need a family show. Like, this is cute, but we're not picking this up. And fun fact, Jeffrey Nordling from Big Little Lies played my dad, and my God, he's just been amazing forever. But our show didn't get picked up. And then they were recasting your part. They were recasting Haley. And I got a call from one of the producers who was on my pilot and on One Tree Hill, who was like, we have these 4 lead characters and all of them, when you meet them, are really struggling with something. And we need messy, sad, drama. And they were like, we need a character to be like ridiculous and sassy. We need like comic relief.
Sassy's a good word.
And I
for
was
Brooke.
like, Brooke is real sassy. And I was like, that feels fun. And I remember going in and auditioning. And then I had like, I think 2 more. A callback, and then there was the test where remember we were there together.
Oh yeah, I remember.
They were testing, they were doing her name wasn't even Brooke yet, but they were doing the Brooke characters and the Haleys. And it was this weird room.
I remember that because it was just like a circle couch or something.
Yeah.
There was some kind of like 2 half new moon couches. I just remember walking in, you were in your headphones, and I remember being, damn it, I hope that girl and I are not up for the same part. She's just so pretty. And
Oh
I
my
was
God.
like,
Were there other people there? Or was
I
it
had
just
my
you
headphones
two?
in because I was having a panic. I was like, I'm so nervous. I don't think I can talk to anyone because if I start talking to people, I might throw up. And that'll definitely mean I don't get the job.
What's fun? Oh, I'd been in LA like 6 months before Ravens, maybe even more than that. And I'd had one boyfriend, like I'd only had one boyfriend in my whole life. And his friend was getting married out there. So I piggybacked like a couple auditions onto this wedding trip. And he was so pissed about it because he had to drive me around. It was LA. It was like before MapQuest, like it was before you had to like
Uber.
read a map to get
the
around.
Thomas Guide.
Oh my God.
I got lost so many times
It
reading
was
that
so
damn
scary.
thing.
And so I go to this audition for Mike Tolan, and he was directing Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr. And I was auditioning for the part of Ed Harris's daughter. And I went in there and I did it, and it was like kind of bitchy. And he was like, here's what we need. We need you to be more vulnerable and like tell your dad that you need him. And I remember like the look on my face.
Because your dad's a Green Beret, right?
And I looked at him and I said, have you ever been a teenage girl before? Like, there's no way I would make him think that I needed him. And they were like, well, it's good to meet you. Oh
my God.
Someone else is going to get this part. And so when I got cast, I barely auditioned for One Tree Hill because I think they used all the old footage from that audition. And they're like, we need a bitch. Like, there's this Burton girl, and she's awful, and she's got so many opinions. And so I just like made a tape in New York with the casting director, and I ended up getting the job. But it was all very like, I'd never met anyone. So when everyone was talking about tests and things like that, I was like, what is a test? What are you guys talking about? Yeah. So when I showed up in Wilmington, everybody had already met each other because they'd all read with each other in auditions or tests.
Chemistry reads and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just showed up, and I'd met Chad on Dawson's Creek. I'd done one episode.
Right.
I'd done the 100th episode of Dawson's Creek. It was an episode where all those kids go to the MTV spring break.
I was like, wait, weren't you playing yourself?
And I played myself.
Oh my God.
And it was... It should have been an omen because I remember, my character's name is Hilarie. They spelled it wrong. But Katie Holmes was telling me like, that Chad's character was one of the Hanson brothers. And my line was, thank God you told me I probably would have slept with him. And now when you're playing yourself, you're very sensitive about that, especially when you're super young. And I was not a promiscuous woman.
You're like, I would never say that.
And so I said that. I was like, guys, I got a problem with this line. And they're like, who is this little guest? Who's this mouthy thing? I was like, I'm not saying it. And so it should have been an omen for like the continuation of my career down in Wilmington.
Years of I am not saying this in this scene with this person. I'm not doing it.
What slutty stuff is this?
Oh my God.
Yeah, but Chad got into the van our very first day. We were like going to the read through for the pilot and introduced himself like we hadn't met. And I remember being like, this is war. So all the like angsty bitchy stuff was legit. Like I was just being I was a jerk kid.
I love it.
Brought that energy in. It was real.
Oh my God, I love it. What's crazy to me is you telling that story makes me realize that the 3 of us had the exact same experience starting on our show. We all showed up to spaces where everybody else knew everybody.
Yeah.
Because when we showed up, you then had done the pilot and you knew everybody, but you were meeting everybody for all the Haley reshoots for the first time.
That's right.
And then when I showed up to start working,
I had already been there for a bit.
You had been there for a week because I wasn't in the pilot. I started in episode 1, but they brought me out during the pilot reshoot scenes that you were doing. And so it's blowing my mind that the 3 of us women had the same repeat experience.
That's weird.
That's crazy. And to learn that today is really weird.
I apologize for bringing a chip on my shoulder. Just like, who are these motherfuckers? Who
is everybody?
You know? We'll show them. What I think was really fun is that we got to insert little tiny pieces of our real selves into our characters. Because I don't know that our bosses necessarily knew what they were doing a lot either. It was new for a lot of them. And so we got to influence little bits and pieces of who our characters would become. I actually had been a cheerleader in high school. I was a very grumpy cheerleader in high school. I remember having like pictures of Charles Manson and quotes of his on my megaphone. And like
just to be
contrary. Just to be a dick.
I love it.
And so when they created this character, I was like, whoa, that hits close to home. What were pieces of your characters that really stood out for you guys? Either that were there already or that you inserted.
Gosh, I'm trying to think about this because I have, well, first of all, I have the worst long-term memory ever.
You could make shit up. No one would know, Joy.
I mean, I remember getting there and I was kind of, like I said, already used to being dropped into new situations on my own and just having to sort of handle it and connect with people and make friends. So I'd been doing that for a while. So, and I'm such an introvert that I was also like, just wanted to spend time in my hotel room and walk around on my own and
The Riverview Suites?
Yeah, the Riverview Suites. And that, I'd walk around just like being poetic and writing poetry on the back of napkins and things in my mind, writing songs and like just so awkward and didn't know how to actually have a real like spending time getting to know somebody. I guess. So I think a lot of my experience was colored by that. But in terms of Haley and being on set, I mean, I remembered shooting the scene in the cafe with Karen and the chili and some thing about magazine pages being sticky.
Ew, gross!
I don't know. We're going to have to, when we rewatch this pilot, we'll know what I'm talking about. But there was something about that. And I was like mouthing off to Lucas and it felt very comfortable. Moira and Chad were both really welcoming and really encouraging. And I felt like I had room to play, and I think I resonated with the sense that Haley felt kind of introverted and awkward and didn't really know how to connect with people. Because even though I'm an extrovert introvert because of my business, I've learned how to walk into a room and manage having a conversation, connecting with lots of people, and being charismatic. But inside, I'm crawling into a hole and like can't wait to be alone.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of that part of me that I recognized in Haley and, connected with that. What about you, Soph?
Oh man. It was really interesting because there was a boldness to Brooke Davis. Well, actually I need to rewind. Her name wasn't even Brooke Davis yet.
What was it?
Yeah.
It was Tara.
Oh my gosh,
No.
that's right.
Like 1000% no.
Not that there's
her
anything
name.
wrong with Terrace.
Not that there's anything wrong, but like that was not her name.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel right.
Brooke is an expensive name.
It is. And you know what's so funny is I remember when we were getting everything settled and one of our writers was like, well, what name do you like? And they suggested a couple. And my best friend from college is a girl named Brooke.
No way.
And she is just like one of those people who is so chic. Like she can put on something that is actually like expensive and beautiful, or she can put on a Zara t-shirt and it looks like it's a designer. Like
somebody else we know.
Fancy
my God.
pants over here.
that's very sweet. I always am like, this is like a nice outfit. Why do I look like a teenage boy in this? Is how I feel every day. Also, like every single day I wear a pair of jeans and an oversized blazer, but this is not the point
Uniforms
we're
are
on.
important.
I do love a uniform, but there was something about like her spirit, even in college. Like I, similarly to you, I think I know how to show up in a room. I know how to do my job. I'm really, really good at being bold for other people. But I've realized as a grown-up who has invested money in therapy, I'm actually, historically, I have not been good at being bold for myself. And my friend Brooke from college was so unabashedly bold and was never ashamed of anything and never embarrassed by anything and never worried she was offending anyone. She was so herself. And I knew that this character was supposed to be like that. And I think the interesting thing is that I learned a little more about how to do that for myself because I played Brooke Davis, and I brought like deeply self-conscious fear and self-searching to her. And I think I was able to humanize her because very similarly to you, and I know we all experienced this on our show, there were things that were written for me to do as this person that I just refused to do.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, we all had moments like that.
We
for
all
sure.
had that.
Yeah.
And I think there was something really beautiful that we got to be inspired by our characters. We got to inspire our characters. And weirdly, we stuck up for each other. Like, I'm like, oh, Brooke Davis and I stuck up for each other every day.
Oh,
You know?
that's a good way to think.
I feel that.